Captivating chat. So I apologize for being a few minutes late there. Just a little technical stuff to go through, but hopefully it's worth it so we can have a good show today. I heard on the news that most of the nation is having quite the cold spell right now. Um, Freezing temperatures, below zero, snow, ice. I remember that quite well when I used to live in Virginia for the first 25 years of my life. And as a kid, I always loved snow because it meant that school was going to be closed and we could go out and play in the snow and so forth. But, you know, it, I kind of fell out of love with it when I was an adult and I had to drive in it the very first time. It was not fun anymore. And I also do not miss those days where I used to have to get a credit card out of my wallet and chip the ice off of my windshield. I was just going to pull this up here on my phone. As you can see here in Los Angeles, it is a freezing, chilly 60 degrees. Now, I know to most of you out there across the country, that must sound like a veritable heat wave. Uh, by comparison. But here in Los Angeles, we're spoiled. Oh, it just went down to 59 degrees. Look at that. We're very spoiled here in LA. This is an area where in January I will be wearing t-shirts and shorts and flip-flops. you know, but we do get our cold spells, and actually I love it. I welcome it. I find it very cozy. Um, my dear friend, Dr. Whimsy Anderson, just got back from 3 weeks in Israel. It was a very spiritually enlightening time. Hi, Joyce. Thank you for joining. Joyce Petrus just joined. I'm just can't wait to talk to Whimsy tomorrow. Um, I do her Taco Tuesdays show with her, and I act as her, shall we say, Ed McMahon to her Johnny Carson. I'm her sidekick, and so we'll be talking about it tomorrow. And as her assistant, I also make phone calls to everybody on her database, and many of those people watch us on Taco Tuesday, so I get to know people personally. And I've been telling everybody, Whimsy's all spiritually excited and spiritually renewed, and she's ready to do some really good readings. Um, Joyce Petrus, who's on here right now, she's launching her own YouTube channel. She's a gifted astrologer, tarot reader, and she's already told me 2024 is going to be quite momentous, quite a ride. She's been on the show a few times already, and I'm looking forward to doing her show. Um, I have a wonderful guest later today. I'm going to tell you about. So I'm going to just keep a lot of the discussion short. I always promise something industry news related. Of course, tonight the Emmy Awards are going on. For some reason, it's telecast on the Fox network, and for some reason, I'm not receiving the channel tonight. So it looks like I'm going to have to just find out who the winners are. Like everybody else, I'm going to look for it on my phone, and maybe we'll watch the rebroadcast tomorrow on Hulu. Those are the breaks. But anyway, I'm going to talk about something else. I made a video yesterday about my idol, Barbara Streisand. I have been joyously listening to her audiobook. I've said to people, this was the autobiography I literally waited decades for. And it was like a dream come true when she recorded her own audiobook, and I'm just in the middle of it. But it was in the news the other day that it's not doing so well. The book sold about 55,000 copies its first week, landed at number 2 on the bestsellers list, and then strangely started dropping off. And to date, in 8 weeks, it's only sold 212,000 copies approximately. Now, that may, under normal conditions, sound great. Make the New York Times bestsellers list, 212,000 copies. It's just that this was considered to be the publishing event of the year. This was a major event, highly anticipated, and it just has fallen far short of the expectations. By comparison, Britney Spears' book hit number one, and to date has sold over 950,000 copies. That's like 4 times what Barbara Streisand's book has done. So, I don't know. I hope it'll pick up. I hope it's gonna make it through the long run because I can tell you the book is just phenomenal. It's everything that I ever would have wanted in an autobiography from Barbara, where she talks about her private life, but she's also very discerning about her career. She discusses each one of her records, the making. She talks about her television specials, the movies. I just got through the long chapter about the making of Funny Girl and how she subsequently won her Oscar for Best Actress. I did another video yesterday about the infamous see-through pantsuit. You probably know the story. Um, Under the hot studio lights, the sheer fabric gave the illusion that she was nude. She was actually It was actually lined in a nude colored fabric, but it looked like she was as naked as her Oscar. And Barbara, in her autobiography, said she called her mother up the next day and said, "Mom, what do you think? I just won an Oscar." And all her mother had to say was, "How could you go on television wearing an outfit like that? What were you thinking?" So that's a little bit of industry news where I can talk about my idol, Barbara. Okay, I always promise a Lucy story. I'm going to keep this very brief. If you've seen some of my shows, I sometimes have gone on as long as 20 minutes telling a Lucy story. Today is going to be about a minute. I was thinking of the time she first came to Hollywood when she was 22 years old to make the movie Roman Scandals with Eddie Cantor. She was just one of the chorus girls. It was a musical. She and 11 other women were brought out from the East Coast. They had all appeared on billboards, magazine ads. That was the whole point. They wanted the chorus to be made of cover girls. And Lucy had done an ad that had appeared on a billboard for Chesterfield cigarettes. And that was even an accidental thing because it was just a drawing she did posing for an artist, and he in turn sold it to Chesterfield. So it was all happenstance. So anyway, I'll tell that in another story. But she was lined up on the first day on the soundstage with these beautiful, voluptuous chorus girls. Lucy, as she said in her autobiography, she was tall. She was about 111 pounds, skinny as a rail. They all had to be there in bathing suits, more or less to be inspected as Eddie Cantor was going down one by one. And so Lucy decided, how can I make myself stand out in a better way that'll be a little more memorable? And she remembered something that a friend of hers had done once that was funny. So Lucy did the same thing. She found some red crepe paper, tore it up into little pieces, licked them, and she started sticking little red dots all over herself to make herself look like she had the measles. I know that sounds weird, but that's what she did. And she said, Eddie Cantor, sure enough, walked up to her and he burst out laughing. He thought it was incredible. And he actually said this, it's been documented. He said, "Watch out for that ball dame. She's going places." Well, you know what? That ball dame did go places. Well, anyway, I have a very special guest today, so I don't want to keep talking about this. We can save this for other shows. My guest today is Pomona. She is about to launch her own YouTube channel, Pomona Remembers. She is a gifted psychic medium. She specializes in heart centered remote viewing, tarot reading, and I'm just so excited to have her here. I'm going to bring her on right now.
Hi,
Hello.
Ted.
Or I should say Pam. You like to be called Pam, don't you?
Yeah, Pam or Pomona. Yeah.
Pamela. Okay. Well, thank you for being on my show. I very much want this to be about you because you've got something wonderful to promote here. You and I both are siblings of sorts because we have the wonderful Debbie Brady as our manager. And, I've already been working closely alongside her other clients, Joyce Petrus, Tawny Acosta, and now I feel like I've got another friend here. We're going to work together. We're going to grow together. We're going to evolve. But I guess, first of all, why don't you tell us who is Pomona and tell us about what you do?
That is very complicated.
I'm sorry.
Um, I I am many faceted in all of my
Yeah.
things that I'm interested in. I remember somebody when I was a child asking me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said everything. So there we are.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm naturally drawn towards artistic endeavors. Once upon a time, before all of this, I was a mom, and I used to work in childcare with
Uh-huh.
children for a very, very long time. So you really get to learn about energy when you work with children.
It's very pure, very
Definitely.
honest.
Yeah, and they
I
can
love
tell
that.
you exactly what it is,
Wow. That's
whether you
just
like it or not. Yeah.
let's
Um,
see, I just saw a note here. It said, "Chuck, we don't see Pomona." Oh, there she is. Okay, never mind. I am so sorry to interrupt you, but in the comments, I just had it something saying we couldn't see you, but never mind.
oh, okay.
We
But you
see
have
you
me?
beautifully.
Yes?
We see you beautifully, so please
Oh, good.
I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, so I am basically stepping into a new chapter in my life. My father passed away like 4 years ago. He had a long battle with cancer and a lot of stuff. And he was my very, very first dance partner in life. We used to dance together when I was a little one. He introduced me to all the great music of the 70s, and we went from there. Um, with things were a little tricky near the end. He was a little bit of a right leaning sort of person, and it just didn't fit very well. And also because when I was a child, we went to church a lot when I was a child, so there was a lot of suppression of my giftings and stuff. Not a
Me
lot of
too.
understanding.
I had a
So
similar background coming from a small southern town, and I have, of course, great respect for the people I grew up with. This isn't
yes,
impugn anyone, but it
no,
it is a different mentality, and,
yeah,
it's one of the reasons I was kind of bullied a lot as a kid. I wasn't accepted. I did not fit into that community.
no,
Yes, I know what you're
no,
talking about, and also what you say about right leaning. It used to be it wasn't such an issue where we could be agree to disagree. It
yeah,
seems like since 2016, without going into names, since 2016, that dynamic has changed a lot. I know people who won't even speak to each other anymore.
yeah.
I hope that didn't make things too difficult in your dynamics with your father.
Well, we really, really worked on it a lot. He he has always challenged me in my life to be better and to aim higher, to always be challenging myself, to grow, to learn,
Uh,
all of those beautiful things. He was also in the military, so he's very
I
strong,
understand. Mhm.
strong-minded man. Amazing, amazing, amazing man. But he also, after he passed away, that was when, so before he passed, I always was sort of like in the closet with my giftings.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been that way too.
Okay.
You know,
So you get it. So while we were in life together, I really, it really, really vexed me a lot, actually, and that I just felt like I wasn't accepted and by my dad, my own, just because of ideas and all those sort of things. And
yeah.
but I knew that he loved me unconditionally
He tell
ish, but this just
you
those
that.
ideas, that were blocking us from breaking through with one another.
Yeah.
And he just after he passed away. Oh, so I was praying. Sorry, apologies. I was praying about it. I was like, when are me and my dad ever going to see eye to eye again? When is he going to understand me for exactly who I am? Because I really felt like just never fully seen or accepted for my giftings. But after he passed away, he started visiting in dreams, and
I
there
was
was
just
a couple
about to ask
things
you
that
that.
happened. So he got to see my giftings from the other side.
Oh, yes, in a much
Um,
poorer place.
yes.
Yeah.
So then that completely changed the dynamic because like pictures were coming off of the walls,
Mhm.
dreams were coming in, there was messages coming in on a regular basis. Yeah.
If I may ask, do you feel your father became a conduit for you? You know, in bringing more of this into you, opening up your channel, like he was facilitating this from the other side,
Yeah, he
working
was
on
part of
it?
the team. He sort of joined the team
That's
is what I really felt like happened.
'Cause, you know, I often feel with my own spirit guides, I sense that
Mhm.
they work behind. I use the word behind the scenes, you know, to describe what's going on in the spirit world, like, there's so much going on, we're not even able to fathom or understand. That's the first thing that occurred to me, and you said that.
Yeah,
Your father
yeah.
was like, he could clearly see you from the other side. He obviously loves you tremendously as you love him. I
Oh,
can tell that that connection is still there. It's like
yeah,
there's this tunnel between the 2 of you, for one of a better
yeah,
describing, or a cord, and I just think this is thrilling. It's like you still have a teamwork going on. Uh,
yeah.
if I may ask, do you find that this helps you where you don't miss your father as much because you feel he's just with you as much as ever?
It I still cry sometimes,
Sure. Yeah.
especially around special days, like specifically with my mom, because they were married like, well, they got married in 1970 and he passed in 2019.
Mm,
So,
just before COVID, the
yeah,
pandemic.
right. He didn't know about any of the stuff. He missed it all. And the other cool thing, Chuck, is he's actually worked. He was an artist as well. He loved to try, but he also had responsibilities to his family, so it was always in the background
Understand that.
thing that he did. And he actually came to me with a piece that he wanted me to help make for my mom for their anniversary,
Yeah.
and sort of like the way that he sees us through the veil. It was a really, really cool piece that I got to make for my mom.
Wow.
Just sort of, and I used some of his pictures of him when he was like in his early 20s, and like he showed me sort of like what he's like now and what he's doing on the other side.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. I've had to check in with myself a lot to be like, I'm not like, this isn't just wishful
Mhm.
thinking, you know? And it's
It's
not
it
like
was
I'm calling out to him. It's not that. I just like send him love. Like, I
yeah.
love you, Dad. Sometimes he just shows up. That's when my gift started, actually, was with his mom showing up a long, long time ago. She let
Um,
me know that, like, he was going to be sick. She gave me like a couple months of uh, road before the news
oh,
came.
yeah, she was part of the team, so to speak. She may be
Yeah,
working with him right
she
now.
was one of my first
Yes.
experiences of a family member just like kind of coming in and giving me a message.
Yeah. That's
I've had
true.
messages come in with my husband's grandfather about other people in the family, things like that. It's very interesting.
It's quite exciting when it happens. I went through the same thing as you know, "Oh,
Yeah.
is this just my imagination? Am I making this up?" But I'm blessed that I have a number of psychic intuitive friends that I can do checks and balances with, and when I first started getting these distinct personalities coming through to me,
Mhm.
because I told you my method is to write in a notebook. That's just
Yeah.
something I'm comfortable with. It's not a trance or anything like that. I just sit and listen to what's in my heart and I start writing it down. It always makes sense. The personalities come through. But I would go to my psychic friends and say, "What are you getting on this? Do you feel
Mm.
this is authentic? Are you getting the hit? Yes, no, I'm not offended. Just tell me." And almost always it was resounding, yes, yes, you are hearing these people. And that helped me to train myself to recognize it better. And I don't know if
Oh,
that was true for you, that this was like training for you, preparation to where you feel much more comfortable with it.
well, that's one of the reasons why I went and took HCRV classes with Dr. Whimsy,
Oh,
because I
she's
had these gifts,
yeah.
but no control.
Yeah.
It was just like happening all willy nilly
Well, I
outside
don't
of
always have
my.
control either.
Pardon me, sorry.
Oh, I said I don't always have control either.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Like it's like that Netflix show Wednesday.
I haven't seen that, but I know of it.
Okay, so if you watch that show, the is it Jenna Ortega who plays Wednesday? She goes into a trance and she sees visions. This is
Mhm.
very close to what happens with me, and the movie playing out and all of those sort of things. It's a lot sometimes, Chuck.
It is. It is. A lot of people don't realize how draining it can be.
It can
Sometimes
be.
I have to stop, and, it's like we have to practice spiritual hygiene.
Yeah.
I do my prayer, like what Dr. Whimsy does with the impasse prayer. I do my
Mhm.
own version of that for protection. I try to be very, very careful, because as we both know, lower vibrational energies, entities can work their way into this. So we have to be cautious.
Absolutely.
Um, but I wish I could control it a little better, but I have had experiences, and my great mentor, Dr. Whimsy Anderson, because we
Mhm.
do the Tuesday show together, she sometimes has called me up like an hour beforehand. Like once during the actor strike, she said, "Okay, I want you to contact Judy Garland and see what she thinks about the actors strike." Because sometimes I do pick up on Judy, and I'd never done it that quickly, but I called out, and sure enough, it was a very short answer, but it sounded like her and it made sense. And then there was another time Whimsy said, "I want you to call out to Olivia Newton-John. We're going on the show in 45 minutes. Does she have a message?" And I just heard and meditated, as I'm sure you do. It was very quick. And I
Mhm.
heard her distinctly say, "Tell all the viewers out there, if you would all plant one tree, this would turn around global warming." I heard that resoundingly. And I did not even know that Whimsy was going to do a show where her charity of the week was about planting trees. I knew nothing about that. That was Olivia. She knew, and she was coming through. So I'm sorry to go off on myself there
Oh
because this,
no.
but I
No,
wanted
no,
to.
it's cool. I love to hear stories from others too.
Yeah.
It helps me because like it's me all
Yes.
alone up here. I'm reaching out to you guys to help me because there's not a lot of people in my community who can help me. I mean, I'm finding more people, which is awesome. But yeah, that's why, the gift of this community has been so amazing for so many people. So many people.
Well, I
And
think
yeah.
back. I do.
Mhm.
I watched some of your material today in preparation for the show, and I just get the nicest energy from you. It's so heart-centered. I love your voice. Your voice is calming. You have a nice energy, a beautiful presence about you. And I know you're going to be a great success with your channel. People are just going to be magnetized to you. And you're going to be getting so many questions from people. Let me ask you, what are some of the things you hope to be doing with your channel? Like, will you be doing readings for people? Will you be, and like, what kind will you be doing? Like politics, news, more personal related? I should let you just talk about what
Sure.
you're to do.
So usually on Mondays, I have this show. I've changed it up in the new year because I just was trying to get used to putting my stuff out there on a regular basis. So I have another Magic Monday, which is sort of like a wisdom card for the day. Like, what's the energy for the week? What should we be focusing on as, just people in the world
Yeah.
with our spiritual, what should we be focusing on spiritually to help us stay centered and grounded? So that's Monday. And then on Wednesday, I have a Patreon account because so I want to have like a price point where people can come in who maybe don't quite have a lot of money
Mhm.
to uh, reach out to a psychic medium or whatever. So I have a Patreon that's like $11 a month, and on Wednesdays I do readings for my Patreons.
Oh.
So personal readings for my Patreons, I officially have one Patreon, so she gets everything right now. So, and then on Saturdays, I have it's Saturday nights, all right, for talking. And usually it's just sort of like a dialogue or like a stream of consciousness, like the so like if my spirit team give me something to talk about, or like a lesson from life that sort of they want me to share, because I really ultimately want to encourage people to develop these gifts for their own self,
Wow.
so that they can develop that discernment and that knowing in themselves, so that if they can't get a hold of one of us, they can still, reach into
I
that
love that.
quiet place.
Well, are you familiar with Sonia Choquette? This
No.
Oh, well, she wrote a wonderful book called Ask Your Guides, which
Okay.
was really what opened things up for me, but
Okay.
she pointed out in the beginning of the book, this is not necessarily an extraordinary gift, it's something that everybody can do. We
Yeah.
all have the ability, it's just that some people are more attuned into it, but her point of her book is to teach people how to do that, and that helped me a lot. And it
Mhm.
helped me to recognize that a lot of what I was hearing was authentic
Mhm.
because a lot of people think it's like a choir of angels and
Mhm.
clouds parting and curtains pulling and ta-da! It's quiet.
Yeah.
It's subtle. It's quiet. She said, think of it more like the butterfly wing on your cheek, or it's just a little whisper in your ear. So
Mhm.
that helped me to recognize that.
Mhm.
So that's great. I hope I'm not going off track here. I did have a viewer question here for you, and I
Oh,
think this is maybe in regards to what we were talking about earlier with your
okay.
father. But do
Okay.
you believe certain traits, as far as abilities like this, are passed down?
Yeah. Yeah. There's there. It's in our family. I think there's a genealogy, like through the lineage. I have a very large Scottish background.
Uh-huh.
The women in our family are kind of know things without knowing why we know things. I asked my nana about it once upon a time, and she loved to mess with my dad. And I asked her, I was like, Nana, like, do you sometimes know things, but you don't know how you know those things? Or
Yeah,
do you ever like get things that like you thought about it or you dreamt about it and then it happens again in real life and you know that it's going to happen? Or
yeah.
do you know what someone's going to say before they say it? Or does any of these things happen to you, Nana? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, well, why? And she's like, that's because we're witches, dear. And she was messing. She was, because we're not. We're
Scottish
not. But she
Macbeth,
loves to give my dad a hard time.
singing, "Double, double, toil and trouble, the
Yeah,
witches of the
that sort of
Dead."
idea, like, just to mess with my dad and get him off of his, like, his game a little bit. She loved to
Love
torment him.
it. Love it. Do you think your father, when he was alive, was maybe a lot more receptive to this than he was willing to let on?
He was, as long as it was dressed within the acceptable idea that he held, like, what was acceptable to him. As long as it looked like a certain way, then it was okay, but every time, like, when it stepped outside of inside the four walls of the church or things like that, he got a little bit nervous. And I think it was
Yeah.
because he was protective of me.
Mhm.
I think that's actually what it was mostly about.
Okay. You mean protective as far as people not perceiving you the wrong way or seeing you as, shall I say, a nutcase? That's what I
Mhm.
worry about myself, frankly. That's why I use that word. You know
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I am different. I
Yeah,
definitely
me too.
am different. And our whole family. There's a lot of also, Chuck, there's also a lot of like learning difficulties in our family as well, like
Mhm,
a lot of ADHD, autism, things like that in our family.
mhm.
And they're finding like when you have that, like even so, for instance, if there is autism in a brain, that means that they're sometimes taking in 40% more data than a regular brain
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
taking in.
I've
There's like extra.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard that percentage before, but I have heard that theory before. I was just gonna say that, often because we're both artists,
Yeah.
and there's artistry in the family, as I'm sure you know, us artists tend to be very right brain oriented.
Yeah.
We're very good with the ethereal. We can be a little spacey, a little very abstract at times. Like, for example, I was very bad at things like mathematics, things that required a lot of logic. But I was, artistry was always my strong suit,
Mhm.
imagination, writing,
Mhm.
poetry. So that was interesting when you mentioned that. Like you said, there were like learning disabilities. Do you think that could be attributable to just the artistry that ran through your family?
Mm, possibly
Possibly.
that has a part to do with it because you definitely look at the world in a different way. Like
Yes.
our youngest has extremely profound dyslexia,
Yeah.
and they are an artist as well.
Yeah. I
um,
find this among artists.
yeah, yeah, but they
Flexible.
can like take a say a tree and spin it all around in their head and be able to tell you what it looks like from every single direction inside their head.
Yeah.
Um, what would it look like from the bottom up? What would it look like this way? Like all spin around in their head, and yeah, it's been very interesting. All of the family,
Yeah.
we
No,
just read each
I find it
other's
fascinating.
minds, and
Yeah, because I went to school with artists. I have so many artists as friends, actors, writers, musicians, painters. I
mm,
find this is like a golden thread. This ties a lot of
yeah,
us together. That's why I wanted to ask you that
yeah,
question. Let's see. I had another question here. There was a question. Oh, yes. This is a message from Joyce Petrus, who is
okay.
a gifted astrologer, tarot reader. She's just launched her own channel on YouTube. She's a good friend of mine. And she wanted to know if, I hope we're not segueing too fast into readings here, but she wanted to know if you have a message for her from her late husband. Is that
Hmm.
appropriate question to ask you at this time?
I'm just getting like a real like proud and
Yeah.
love. Like he's just like, that's my girl.
I feel that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
I know
pictures that
Joyce.
I've got.
I know her. I
I
feel
don't know his name or anything, but he's just like, that's my girl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
I got chills right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my girl. So proud.
I gotta
So
tell you,
proud.
I've been watching, she's doing what you're doing right now, Tawny,
Yeah.
where I was maybe 4 or 5 months ago, going from the ground up, learning all of this.
Yeah.
And, she's done my show a few times already, and I tell you, Joyce is just marvelous. Once she gets in front of the camera and she starts talking, she is so authoritative and
Yeah.
so present, just like you right now. You're doing fabulously also. You
Thank
are.
you.
And
Thank
that's what I see with Joyce, and, so that makes sense that her husband would be so proud of her right
Yeah,
now.
I could just feel him just like,
Yeah. It's just like I feel all of us are on
mhm,
the brink
yeah,
of things, with these channels we're doing and the way Debbie is managing us right now. We're getting ourselves out before the public in ways that I certainly never thought possible 6 months ago. I wasn't planning on this. It just again, I mentioned my dear friend Dr. Whimsy Anderson. She's the one who got me on this wild ride, and it's just been incredible. Let's see here. I do have another question here. I think I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it of you. Do
okay.
you believe in reincarnation?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely I do. And that has come with some deprogramming, but also at the same time, when I was in the middle of my like church journey, my relationship there, when I had my first son,
Uh-huh.
my own, when I had my first child, my son, um, I had this vision of him. Actually, I almost lost him
Mhm.
at the birth, and I called him in, and but it was really touch and go. That's a whole other story and a whole other can of worms. But
Mhm.
um, shoot, where were we before? I got off on my
Well, we
babies.
were talking about belief in reincarnation
Oh
and
yes, with him. So I was holding him, and then all of a sudden, I got this vision come through for him, and I was like, "Oh, he was elsewhere, and he came in, and then when like it's just like all the pictures came and fell into place, and then
yes.
I said it out loud to my dad, and he's like, "No, no, that's not what the Bible says, you crazy." And I was like,
Mm,
ugh. But
mhm.
I held that in my pocket for a few years, and then I just sort of like after I was deconstructing and looking into other religions and other belief systems and all of those sort of things, I was like, yeah, that makes so much more sense to me. It
Yes.
makes
Oh,
so
I was
much
just
more
gonna
sense.
say, because I'm a big believer in reincarnation also, and I was gonna say the very same thing, that it just makes things make sense. My sister and I, we were born 14 years apart. The year I went to kindergarten, she started college. So we were only together for 5 years. We weren't really truly raised together or anything, but yet we're like twins. Twin souls. We are so much alike. I also have a very dear friend. We've talked about this a lot. How because we're both going through very similar parallels in our lives to where it's almost eerie. She can tell me something and then I can tell her something the next day. And it's like boom, boom, boom. We're going back and forth, going through the exact same thing. And we have determined that we were twin siblings in another lifetime. We're just certain about that. It feels right.
Yeah,
She's one of my psychic friends. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I grew up in a community where this would have been like, oh, yes, you're going to burn in hell for thinking like that. And you're going to be tied to a stake and, and stuff
very
like that.
taboo, very
Yeah.
taboo. And if I
Yeah.
said anything like that in front of his friends, oy vey, no, 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 don't
Mhm.
ever, because then you'll
Yeah,
get in trouble, right? So,
yeah. Well, where I live, I live in Los Angeles, La La Land, so it's no big deal to talk about this with other people here. People are pretty accepting, so sometimes I forget, like if I'm in another part of the country like Utah or Colorado, or I'm back in Virginia, I dare to talk like this. You should see the looks I get. And I go, "Oops."
yeah,
I pull myself in. But, that was one of the courageous things about going on this channel and me doing these live streams. I do with Whimsy on Tuesdays, I do mine on Monday, you're doing yours now.
yeah,
It's like we're, shall I say it, coming out of the closet with what we do. We're going public with it. It was like with Dr. Whimsy. She wanted me to come forward on the first show and talk about I'm a psychic medium. And I thought, I've never told people I'm a psychic medium before. And she said, but yes, that's what you do. Because I had told hers, I confide to my friends. I had just never come out before hundreds of people and done it. And
exactly.
I was so scared. I thought people were going to start writing, oh, you're a fake, you're making this up, and all that. Never, never, because I think the same thing I do. People see the sincerity of our hearts and they
Yeah,
know we're telling the truth. I have not had one person doubt me. And that's been so life affirming for me,
yeah,
and giving me such confidence, and I know you're going to get this too. I think you're just gonna be so excited because you're just starting. You're just on the brink of this. So I'm gonna
yeah,
have fun watching you as you
yeah,
start doing your live broadcasts, as you start making videos every day. Like I was telling you, that's the great thing of an iPhone or whatever
yeah,
phone you use, you got in your
yeah,
pocket. Sometimes I
yeah,
walk on the sidewalk, I hold it up and I'll make a video if a thought
yeah,
comes to me.
yeah,
It's just about feeding content to your channel. But right now, I have to count it. I think I'm up to like 260 videos. And I just started in July and I'm like, how did this even happen? And of course, I know of a lot of it is our manager, Debbie. You're in good hands.
mhm.
And, I'm already proud of you.
Oh,
I'm just,
thank you, Chuck.
I'm already excited to know you. And as I've said to you, please, we're in this together. Contact me, call me, whatever you want. I'll help you to the best of my ability. I want to.
Oh,
'Cause we're
thank
all
you, Chuck.
family. It's that way with Joyce and Tawny, and now you're part of the family, and We're just gonna do this together. But, before you go, I just wanna make sure we've covered what you would like to talk about today. Is there anything else you would like to bring up that maybe we
Um,
haven't?
yes, there is a story that I wanted to share with you about animal love and souls and the Rainbow Bridge
Oh,
and where do our babies go after they pass?
yes, I'd like to hear this myself.
Okay. I would like to introduce you to my husband's and my very, very first dog, and his name was Murphy. Murphy was adopted from the pound. He was a German Shepherd Husky cross, and
Yeah.
he was amazing. He was amazing with our children. Um, Here's Murphy.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, that was him right before he passed, sadly. But um, he we had a little family and then we had a little space and we didn't have enough space for him anymore. Just, early days or young family, all those sort of things. Ended up, he kept jumping out of our backyard over a 5 foot high fence. The snow helped him, trained him over the winter. So as the snow packed down, he just got stronger and was able to jump a 5 foot fence by the time spring came. So we we really prayed about it and we ended up letting him go to a family in our community who has a Christmas tree farm. And they were sort of a little bit tied to our family in a little bit sort of a way. Anyways, long story short, the gentleman was like, everybody tells me that their dog is awesome when they ask me to take their dog after they're done having their dog. Why should I take your dog? And I was like, listen, you're never go- you're never going to have a dog like this in your life. This is one of the most amazing dogs that I've ever had in my life. Protective, loving, just an amazing, amazing protective dog, and to children and everyone. And so he's like, oh, okay, sure, all right. I'll tell you what, though. It's been a real dry summer, and I need to go out and spend the rest of my Sunday irrigating all the Christmas trees, and I'd rather spend my day with my family. So I'll tell you what, I'll take your dog if you can make it rain for me today.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, sure, no problem.
No problem, huh?
So let me just go.
All order,
Let me just go. And I went and I sat in the window, looking out into his field in a chair, and it's a beautiful chair. And I just prayed, and I was like, I was like, universe, if these people are meant to have our dog, please make
Oh,
it rain.
wow.
That was
Wow.
my prayer.
Really
That was my prayer.
pretty
It was a
voice.
blue
Yeah.
sky, gorgeous day, and then all of a sudden, all these clouds rolled in.
Oh!
And then it started to rain, and it seemed like it was raining
Oh!
mostly over his Christmas tree farm.
Yeah,
And then I came
really?
out and I
Over
was
the
like,
That's
the story's not done.
that's
So
the
then
story.
so then he goes, okay, I guess we're taking your dog. And I'm like, yeah, thank you so much.
My
He's gonna
god.
be awesome. They let us come out and visit with the children. It was awesome. They made it so amazing for us to be able to transition because of course our children were very upset about losing their family dog, but we
Yeah,
couldn't
sure.
I couldn't give him what he needed at that time. He
Yeah,
needed more space.
right.
We had a
Yeah,
little bit of a condo, like backyard
I
postage
understand.
stamp
I was in
yard.
that position once too. I
It's
had to it
hard.
was really hard. Even though you're finding a better home and you're doing the right thing, it's hard. It's
Yeah,
really an act of love, but I could just hear the passion in your voice when you said, "Make it rain." I could what I get from you is that your prayers are powerful, and if I need a prayer, I'm gonna call upon you. You make
they're
things
pretty
happen.
they're pretty
Yeah,
powerful, yes.
that's pretty obvious. That is quite a story. You should even
So
make a that one of your videos. Make that a
it,
separate piece if you haven't
I
already. I don't know.
I did. I did talk about
Oh,
it
you
earlier,
did
but
already.
also,
Yeah.
so he called back a couple days later. He's like, "Okay, could you pray to make it stop? We're getting a little too much now." I was like, "I'm on it." So then,
And did you
and
make
it
it stop?
stopped raining, and then
Oh
he
my
was like,
god.
"Thank you."
Oh,
So,
I may be calling you to pray on some things for me.
so then he calls me. No, they call about 6 years later.
Yes?
Unfortunately, there was an illness in the family and they had to travel out of city to go get treatments, and our dog kept running away. So they were like, "Okay, can we give you back him now?" And we were like, "Absolutely, you can," because it had been 6 years. We were in a bigger house. We were close to walking trails. It was a completely different scenario for us. Perfect. And then he came back to us, and I could feel that he wasn't going to be with us much longer.
Yeah,
I just asked Spirit. I was like, "How much time do we have with him? Because I need to prepare my children
yeah.
for the loss of a dog, because I knew that was coming." So
Mm.
they were like about 6 months, and it was about 6 months that we had him for. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. He was a legend, Murphy,
Oh,
and so we used to take our children. This is part of the story. We used to take our children to the library every single Saturday, and we would borrow baskets of books for the babies.
yeah.
Baskets and baskets of books. It was a lot. And we would get these like Rite Aid, I would imagine it would be called Rite Aid receipts of like
Yes,
all the
yes.
books, like all the
Like
books, all the
CVS
books.
receipts, it's like toilet paper, you know?
Yeah, like it was long. So
Like
these
you
were all the
wrap the
books that
receipt around the planet 4 times, you know? Yeah.
so so after Murphy, we had to let him go because he had developed cancer and we had to let him go. And I was sitting at my desk going through paperwork at whatever. And I was upset about losing him. And I prayed and I was like, "God, what happens? Am I ever going to see him again? I miss him so much. I
Oh,
love him so much. Am I ever going to see my baby again?" And
yeah.
I look over on the desk and there's a receipt from the library, but it's not a normal receipt. It's a short receipt. There's only one thing on it, which is never usually the case. It was
Yes.
one thing. It was one thing. It was a DVD cartoon for our children.
Mhm.
And Spirit said, "Look at that piece of paper." And I looked at it, and the due date was the day that we put our dog down.
Yes.
And the thing that we had borrowed from the library was "All Dogs Go to Heaven."
Oh my god. That's
So,
that's phenomenal.
yeah,
That's just phenomenal.
yeah.
Um, I'm blown away by that. I know we have to wrap up in a moment,
Mhm.
but I was saying to you on the phone yesterday that that's my one of my fondest wishes, that when it's time to cross over to the other side, all my lifetime of pets will be there to greet me. Every dog I ever had, every cat, all in one place. I've often said, I want to see my pets before people. Even my grandmother. I want to see my last cat, Charlie. I want to see my dog, Patches. I want to see my dog, Ginger. I hope they're all going to be there waiting for me.
They will be.
I can't wait.
I
Well,
promise.
we have gone on long here, but you are so much fun to talk to.
Thank you.
Normally I keep the show to 30 minutes, but I've also been told I'm free to do whatever I want. It's my show, but we do need to wrap up. But
Yeah.
anyway, we need to make sure people know how to find you, how to reach you.
Okay.
Uh, where do we find your YouTube channel, Facebook, YouTube? Please tell us all the ways to contact and see you.
Well, the easiest is to find me on my YouTube channel, which is Pomona Remembers. And then under all of that information is links to where you can find me, my
Excellent.
Patreon. My website is in process again because I had to do some changes, so it's not as awesome as I'd love for it to be, but it's a
Mhm.
work in progress,
That's
and
the way I feel, work in progress.
and that's where I'm gonna be showcasing my artwork and things like that.
Yeah,
And my other channel where my artwork is showcased is called Eli and Eden Creative, and
yeah.
the reason why
Well, look at that.
that's that name is because it's after my children,
That's great. You
my
know,
first
we
perfect
we have a
creations.
world of things to talk about because we're both artists also. So I've gotta have you on here again another time, in
And
the
please
future.
come to my channel,
I
please.
will. I
Mhm.
will. We have a lot of fun talking. This is great. So, Debbie's here telling me to wrap it up. So,
Yeah,
I am gonna wrap it up. So I wanna thank you so very much for being on my
thank you,
show, and
Chuck.
I wish you so well. You're gonna be
Take care.
fabulous. I'm gonna say goodbye to you just for now,
Okay.
but I know we're gonna meet later with Debbie, so I'm just gonna let you go for now, and I'm gonna say goodbye to the audience.
All right. Take
Thank you
care,
so
Chuck. Bye, everybody.
much. Here. Bye. So anyway, I just wanted to say goodbye to everyone myself. Um, please like and subscribe my channel, Chuck's Captivating Chronicles. And also, I have just launched something for my cat, Sasha. Sasha's Siamese Secrets. Now, I'm getting around the challenge of making cat videos right now, and it is not easy. Any of you who have cats know they don't cooperate. Like, I'd like to have her right now, so all I have instead is Sasha's stand-in, this stuffed Siamese cat from Toys R Us. It's gonna have to do for right now, and it may have to do for some of my videos, but please like and subscribe, Sasha's Siamese Secrets. So thank you all so much for joining me today. I appreciate every one of you so much, and,